everyone, and happy Friday. Kylene here, and I just had a really amazing comment on my Facebook page, and I thought it would be great for me to go live and talk about this. So it's really easy when I'm so invested in what I do and when I'm like super invested in research and nutrition and figuring out exactly what's the healthiest thing, and I get in my own kind of habit, I get in my own kind of ruts and patterns, and it's easy for me then to forget that not everybody is at this level, and so some of the basics get lost. But I can totally relate to that because 5 years ago, that's where I was, and I remember joining a health group in 2015, like at the end of 2015, and I was like, everybody keeps talking about clean eating, and I kept rolling my eyes because I was like, what does that even mean? Like, that's such like a non-specific term. There's like 10 different people that would interpret that 10 completely different ways. Some people would consider clean eating, well, I just include vegetables every day, or some people might include clean eating that, they don't drink alcohol. Some people might think it's a specific diet that they have to follow. Some people might think, whatever it is that they define clean eating, maybe it's sugar-free, but, hi Holly, but in reality, there is, I feel like, a definition. I'm going to share that with you, my perspective. It may end up being different than yours. You might have a different opinion. But hi, Ashley. If you guys are watching, go ahead and like the video. Let me know if you have any questions below. If you're watching after the fact, still leave questions and likes so I know you were here. But I'm just talking about how, sometimes I can get all wrapped up in what I do and forget to talk about the basics. So today I'm going to talk about just some terms that have to do with actually choosing the healthiest foods for your family and what they mean and how you can actually look for labels and certain things on your purchases. Okay, so when I say whole foods, for example, I'm not talking about the grocery store. I mean, sometimes I am talking about the grocery store, but generally speaking, when I'm talking to people about nutrition and I say I want you to eat whole foods, I'm not telling you to go eat the grocery store. You can shop there to buy whole foods, but really what I'm talking about is, what I mean is real food. That's a better term, real food. So if you have, and really it's intuitive, right? Like it's you kind of know what that means if I say real food. So if you're holding a Snickers bar in one hand and you're holding an apple in the other, which one's real food? I want you guys to go ahead and comment below. Okay, tell me if the Snickers bar or the apple is real food. I know y'all know the answer. So it's really kind of basic, but that's what I mean when I mean whole food. And the reason it's called whole foods is because it's whole. It's unprocessed. Hi, Kristen. It's in its natural form. It's in its original state of being. So the best way to eat, the most nutrient-dense way to eat, is to eat as many whole foods as you can and to stick to that as much as you possibly can. Now, we do have, hi Kristen, so now we do have busy lives, right? And so I do encourage people to learn how to cook for themselves and how to create their own meals. Hi Steven, and to do that as much as you physically can and have time for. And so if you can get that to be like 80 to 90% of your day, awesome. But we are really busy, and we do have, kids that want to take, grab a snack on their way to school, or you want to grab a snack on the way here or whatever. And so there are times and places where you have quote unquote processed foods. But here's the caveat. When you're choosing those, you want to read the labels and make sure that those packaged products are actually made from whole foods. Okay, so it still falls within that. So if you turn it over and you're reading it and there's a word you don't recognize, it's probably not real food. If you turn it over, like a layer bar is a great example. If you turn it over and you look at a layer bar, it's like 4 ingredients, and it's like coconut, dates, almonds, and vanilla, right? Those are all real foods. They're all whole food ingredients. They're things that you would have in your house that if you wanted to make a layer bar yourself, if you had time to make a layer bar yourself, you could actually do that because it's real food. It was not made, by all these chemicals, and it wasn't, it's not this broken down 12-step process to make a layer bar, right? So that's what I mean when I talk about whole foods. And in my opinion, clean eating, when you talk about that super non-specific term that nobody can actually define. When I talk about clean eating, that's what I mean. I mean eating real, actual food, the food that our bodies were designed to break down and utilize and turn into nutrients and turn into energy and build muscle and fuel your brain and fuel your energy and help you get better sleep and prevent disease. I mean, I just go on and on, because that's what food does, right? Food is the building blocks for your cells, the building blocks for your ability to function throughout the day. Hi, Julie. And so you can continue, I use this example a lot, you can continue to use styrofoam building blocks, or you can choose, and that would be processed foods, refined carbohydrates, sugars, going out to eat a lot, drinking a lot of soda, things that actually strip your body of nutrients and cause inflammation and cause cell damage. Or you can start building your house, your body, your cell structure, your energy. You can start building it with reinforced concrete, right? And that's where you get whole foods, real food in its intended state that you are intended to break down and utilize in your body. So that's the first term, clean eating and whole foods. You know, what does, then you get into that and you go, and this is where it can get really confusing. You start talking about all these different diets, right? And this is the easiest way, 100%, for you to figure out your nutrition. Forget everything you've ever heard about any diet ever, and there's plenty of good ones out there. They all work for somebody, otherwise they wouldn't be popular, right? But here's the best, this is the screen, this is the lens I want you to look through whenever you decide you want to try a new diet, you know, try a new food, try a new meal, buy a new snack bar, look at a cereal, whatever. I want you to look at the ingredient label. Hopefully it doesn't have one. But I want you to look at what does that diet, what does that program feed you. And if it's consisting of real whole foods in their natural form, and basically you can boil that down. Let's break that down even further. You have meat, vegetables, fruit, healthy fats. And even within that, you have your complex carbohydrates, right? And those typically are like roots, but those are vegetables, so that still falls within vegetables, right? When you have your potatoes and sweet potatoes and squash and all those things that are carbohydrates, and they're really, really great carbohydrates. But basically, if you boil it down, that's how simple it is. Fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and meat. Easy, that's it. So anytime you try a new diet, what you need to do is you know, if it starts getting confusing and they say, hey, I want you to measure this, I want you to portion this, I want you to weigh this, and you know, it doesn't matter what the content of that food is, it only matters if, you know, it has this much fiber and, you know, it doesn't have sugar or it doesn't have fat or it doesn't have this many carbohydrates or whatever. That is all garbage, you guys. Total garbage. Throw it out the window. Stop listening to it. It does matter. Clean eating, real eating, is what your food is actually physically designed to absorb and utilize. Hi, Amanda. And that just means real food. So if any diet, any program, any meal, anything you want to purchase strays from that, that's why you can't maintain, why you can't break sugar cravings, why you can't lose weight, why you can't build muscle, why you don't have energy, why you can't sleep, why you get bloated, why you get constipated, why you get diarrhea, why you break out, is because you're not eating those things and you're substituting and you're focusing on the wrong things. You're focusing on, does it have this much sugar? Does it have this much fat? Does it have this many calories? I have to weigh this. That's not, it doesn't even matter. If your food is not consisting of real food, and it's actually consisting of a lot of processed food, you're gonna have food sensitivities, you're gonna have inflammation, you're gonna gain weight, you're gonna get tired. That's just how it is. It doesn't matter if you're counting your macros, if you're weighing it out. If that's a food you're sensitive to because it's garbage, you're not gonna have a positive reaction. So that's how I define clean eating. That's how I define real food, okay? Fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, and good meat. So now I want to break it down even further. So how do you choose those? Because now we're hearing all these people have wisened up, all right? The grocery stores know that we want healthy food. So they're very smart. They pay people a lot of money for marketing and labels and all this kind of stuff to confuse us. And so now we have all this greenwashing effect, right? Where we have things that say gluten-free and fat-free and sugar-free and all natural and all this kind of stuff on labels. So again, I'm going to tell you one thing. cut through the crap, turn it over, read the ingredients. Don't look at the macros. Don't look to see how much fiber it has. I mean, fiber is important. That's a whole other video. But don't be focusing on those things because that's distracting. Scroll down, get to the ingredients, and see if it's real food. That's something you could make in your home, and it's hopefully like maybe 5 ingredients. If it is, you're good, okay? If it's not, avoid it. So when you're buying things like meat, we have all these, it gets even more complicated because we have grass-fed versus pasture-raised versus organic, this versus all natural. So I'm going to tell you the gold standards. If you really want the top quality of food, I'm going to go through a couple things here and I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to just give you the terms that you actually want to look for and the terms you want to avoid, okay? So organic, obviously, when you're shopping for fruits and vegetables, organic is the gold standard. That's in the produce section, what you want to focus on. Now, people will come and say that buying healthy food is more expensive. And if you look at an organic apple versus a conventional apple, it is a few cents more expensive. But here's my argument to that. If you stop buying all the chips and the crackers and the things that are processed in boxes and in bags, and you actually focus on produce and vegetables and healthy meat and things like that, your grocery bill will probably go down. But if you keep buying all of the processed, bagged, boxed foods, and then you also try to buy organic and that price goes up, then your grocery bill will actually increase. So there are so many instances where people go and they completely overhaul their diet and they're shocked because it's either the same budget or even less. And I do argue that produce is some of the most inexpensive food that you can buy. So if you can fill up your shopping cart with 70% produce, fruits and vegetables and tubers and things like that, then you can have that little bit of extra to spend on the quality meats and things like that. So in the produce section, organic is the gold standard. But hi Carmen, hi Amanda. But when we get to some other things, it does get confusing. So let's talk about meat for a second. We have pasture raised, organic, natural, and 100% grass fed. So when you're talking about beef, the word you want to look for is 100% grass fed. So it can be confusing when it says pasture raised, and actually I just learned this recently because I thought pasture raised, basically meant that it would be 100% grass fed, but it doesn't. If it says pasture raised, and this is how they get you, if it says pasture raised, they may be mostly grass-fed, but they are allowed to substitute with grains, at some point during their life. They could be grain finished, for example, which is a tool that they use to kind of fatten them up before they actually slaughter them. So you want 100% grass-fed. This is for your health. Hi, CJ. Hi, Charity. This is for your health, but this is also for the health of the animal. They are not meant to eat grains. They're just not. They're meant to live their entire life out in the open, eating grass, eating hay in the winter. That's what's healthiest for them. That's what's healthiest for you. Now, typically when you have farmers that are willing to raise grass-fed cows, you're also going to get better treatment of the animals. So if you are concerned about animal quality and the care for them while they're raised, again, healthiest thing for you is typically the healthiest thing for the animal as well. So 100% grass-fed is what you want to look for on the label. And usually with that is going to come organic and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so cheese, same thing, 100% grass-fed because it comes from the cows, right? So you want to look at that mark. So when they're talking about 100% grass-fed, they're talking about the animal that the milk came from, and so it's the same thing in cheese. With poultry, you actually want to, because you're getting all natural, organic, cage-free, and pasture-raised, right, with eggs. With poultry and eggs, the gold standard is actually pasture raised, which gets confusing because that's not the same terminology that you're using for the meat, right? So, CJ, yes, go ahead and post it and I will try to get to it. So, pasture raised is the gold standard for poultry. And so what that means is that they are, again, allowed to roam, allowed to eat grass, allowed to eat bugs, that sort of thing. So you want to avoid all this random terminology like vegetarian fed, all natural, cage free. Cage free just means that they can like open the doors for like 15 minutes a day. It does not mean that they are raised on pastures and they're happy hens. Okay, so you do want to spend the extra dollar so that you are, again, what is healthiest for you is healthiest for the chickens. Okay, so it typically goes hand in hand. So pasture-raised eggs are typically higher in omega-6, but you know, eggs and poultry in general is higher in higher in omega-3, but eggs and poultry are typically higher in omega-6 naturally. So if you want to kind of balance that out a little bit, you get the pasture raised. And same thing with the beef. So if you are getting grass-fed beef, it's higher in omega-3s, which is the anti-inflammatory fats that you want, and lower in omega-6. Grain-fed cows are higher in omega-6, which is inflammatory. So you're getting all these inflammatory substances if you're not buying pasture-raised and grass-fed and things like that. Even if you avoided grains 100% yourself because you're like, let's say, super strict paleo or something like that. Hi, Casey. Hi, Joni. Even you can still get that through the meat and things. So the gold standard for meat is 100% grass-fed. The gold standard for poultry and eggs is pasture-raised. And then we talked about produce, which is obviously organic. So that goes for like nuts and seeds as well. So you want to try organic in that label. So I hope that was informative and helpful. Okay, so I think I did have some questions here. Let me check it really quickly. What do you do for kids' snacks? Do you get anything processed? So I sort of addressed that really early in the beginning. If you're gonna buy something that's processed, turn it over and read the label. And if it is made from whole actual foods, like Larabars was the example I gave, then that's fine because we all live very busy lives. But you always, always, always want to look at the label. Don't look at the calories, don't look at the fat content, don't look at the fiber content, don't look at the sugar. I mean, you can look at those things, but those are not your determining factors. You can have the perfect macro blend, the perfect balance of fiber and carbohydrates and all this garbage, and it be a processed, chemical-laden, super refined, nutrient-void food. Versus if you look at it and maybe it's really high in fat, but it's healthy fat because it's coming from avocado, or maybe it has a little sugar, but it's strictly from dates, not from actually, processed white sugar or something like that. So if you're turning it over and you're getting a processed food for any reason at all, make sure it's made from actual food, things that you could make in your house if you had the time or the desire to do so. All right, let me see if I can, it says Seymour. Okay. Are brown eggs or white eggs better, or does it really matter? And my other question you answered about cage-free. Okay, great. Are brown eggs versus white eggs? I think, and I could be wrong, I haven't actually done a lot of research on this, I think brown eggs are like more natural. I think that's just what you get when you get like a pasture-raised chicken. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've ever had a pasture-raised white egg. So I'm not sure where that color difference comes in. I actually know if you go to a chicken farm, you can see other colors, which is insane. You can see like green eggs and orange eggs and all this really cool stuff. So I don't know where our white eggs come from. I don't know if they're bleached for purity. I don't know. But honestly, if you get an egg from the farm, and it's a pasture-raised egg, I'm fairly certain it's going to be a brown egg. But again, just because it's brown may not mean it's pasture-raised. You want to look for the right terminology there. So pasture-raised is the gold standard. Same thing if you're buying the actual bird itself. Hi, Amy. So again, when you're buying the beef or the chicken or the turkey or whatever it is, the reasons that you want to look out for these words and actually make the investment is because you want to be avoiding the antibiotics, the hormones, the grains that are not good. They're not designed to be eating these things. Uh-oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, maybe not. Excuse me. Real life, guys. That's what happens when it's live. So again, what's good for you, what's healthiest for you is also what's typically healthiest for the animal, and pumping them full of hormones. Thank you, CJ. Pumping them full of hormones and antibiotics and foods. I actually saw, and I can't remember what the process is, but I saw it was probably one of those movies like Food Inc. where it talks about the health of animals or whatever, and it like totally turns you off from conventional foods. But I saw like they're in cows, like they can't really process the grains, and so sometimes they'll actually literally have a hole in the cow where someone has to like put their hand in and pull stuff out because the cow can't actually process. Like these are the things we don't understand are happening when we just randomly go to a fast food joint and be like, oh yeah, it's a burger, it's protein, it's fine. I'll skip the bun, it's no big deal, but I'll still eat the meat. Where did that meat come from? And I'm not telling you to, you know, be super hippy-dippy and to stop eating meat or anything like that, but it does matter in terms of your health what the animal's health was, just because you end up, you know, getting the same food that it did. And, you know, we could go all really woo-woo and talk about, you know, the stress of the animal and everything too, and we won't do that today. But it is important in terms of, you know, choosing the right and understanding the right verbiage, because marketing they're very, very smart. Even if you go down, and this isn't on the food topic, but even if you go down like the laundry aisle and they will start packaging things in green and white to make you think it's more natural, and they like didn't change anything. So just be aware. So the moral of the story here is it made with real food? And we defined what that means. And read every single label. And if there's a term, Google is your best friend. If there's a term that you don't understand as you're going through this process and you're beginning to learn labels, I have Googled so many things, you guys, just to kind of figure it out and learn more. And so that is your best friend at the grocery store. If you come up on a fruit, even if you come up like on a really healthy fruit that you don't know, grab it, Google it, learn how to make it, learn how to eat it. Some fast food places are going to 100% beef. Does that mean it's necessarily better? No, I love the questions. Don't apologize. So 100% beef just means it doesn't have like additives or fillers. So good for them that they got rid of those. But if it doesn't say 100% grass-fed, all that means is that it's meat. So, and here's the thing, guys. These are things that you need to focus on when you're doing your own shopping, okay? So when you go out to eat, if you go to a restaurant, you're probably going to get a burger that's made from conventional beef. Sometimes if it's a nicer place, it'll say that it's, you know, Angus or Kobe or, you know, whatever. But most often, unless you're going to a hippy-dippy, more expensive place that's very conscientious, you're not going to get 100% grass-fed beef. And so I'm not telling you never to eat out, but when it comes to what we buy, the thing with health is we want to control as many factors as we can that are within our own control. So the factors that we can't control when we do go out, when we're exposed to other things that, you know, we don't control ourselves, that our body can then handle it and process it and get it out of our system and detoxify and all those sorts of things. Versus if it's something that we aren't aware of or we don't make a choice ourselves, and so our freezer is just filled with all that, and then we go out to eat and we do all of that as well, and then that becomes this toxic burden, this overload to our bodies, then it becomes a problem. Our health is sort of like a bucket, and stress is like drops of water, and they seem really small all individually until you get to that last one and it tips the bucket over and then something drastic happens. So that's sort of how I like to think about it. If you guys have any questions now or watching the replay, please let me know. Hi, John. And I'm happy to answer them now or later. But before I get off, I just want to let you know of a couple things. I posted something on all my social media or all my Facebook the other day that was like, hey, you know, let me know if you have any questions. I got a lot of really cool questions to answer. So if you want to know the answers to those, make sure you jump over into my free Facebook group, Stop Dieting and Live Your Life, because I'm going to go do some live videos over the next couple weeks where I answer those questions. If you have other questions that you want to get answered, drop me a note or leave a comment, and again, just join that free Facebook group, Stop Dieting and Live Your Life, and I'm going to go through and answer a lot of those questions over the next few weeks. I'll just pop on and do one, maybe two at a time, try to keep them short for you, little nuggets that if that's a question you're interested in, you can get the information and go. Second thing, really, really quickly, tomorrow I'm doing a free webinar at 9 a.m. Make sure you RSVP so I know how many people are going. Invite your friends, share the gift of health. You'll find out how I went from an opera singer to a gut health hacker, and why functional lab testing is important for some people and why it's not for other people. So if you've ever had a question of, should I get a food sensitivity test? Should I do this crazy poop test that she talks about? Should I get my hormones checked? You guys will find all of that out in the webinar. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions, win some giveaways, some prizes. It'll be lots of fun, and it's at 9 a.m. so you can just grab a cup of coffee and join me tomorrow morning, and it'll be tons of fun. So that is, I think, all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, let me know, but please come to the webinar tomorrow. I'm really excited to be hosting it at 9 a.m. And I will post a link, or no, it is posted above, so just click that and join. And if you want to see all the answers to all of your questions from now in the future, make sure you pop over to Stop Dieting and Live Your Life, and I will see you there. Happy Friday, guys. Bye.